Good morning. It's so good to see you. So many friends are back. That's good. We miss you when you're gone. Totally understand. Lindsay said to tell you all, Lindsay Bunting said to tell you all hello and that she misses you. She is at a performance of the Nutcracker. How fun is that? I was a little bit jealous. I thought I've got to plan better next year, make sure I don't miss those things. But it's good to see you. Abby, it's good to see you back and your kiddos. That's fun. Hi, guys. Whoa, what? Is that 7? Like, as in 7 years old?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. And 7, you're here. I've got a little one who was giving me 7 fingers, so I figured he was telling me he was 7 years old, and then I forgot 7 that you're on here too. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. Melissa, it's good to have you back too. I was just thinking, oh no, I didn't remind Melissa. So way to go. Good job. Okay, anybody that remember, if you want to, if you can, come on camera. We love it. It's awesome. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter how crazy things are at your place. It makes everybody feel better to know that that we all have a little bit of crazy going on. So it's all good. Okay, hopefully you have some things that you'd love to share today. We're going to talk about things, a couple different things. One, as always, we'll talk about what are the things that you're doing that warm your heart, that make you smile, that are helping you grow, things that are helpful in your life. So we want to talk about that. We also want to talk about the possibility of starting a group reading of a book that was recommended by Marlene. So I was going to have Laura put that in the chat, but she's driving, so that's not going to work. Oh, here you. Okay. I think that means we're going home. Are you guys?
I'll have Madeline do it.
Oh, you'll have Madeline do it. Thank you, Madeline. Okay, as you guys see Madeline right there, do you see Madeline? Madeline, put your face on there, sweetheart. There she is. There's Madeline. That's Madeline and I work together, and I'm trying really hard to be her mentor and help her as she's doing all of her high school stuff. So she's getting to do all kinds of wonderful things for school, which is super exciting to me. I just love that. I love to see your kids getting to have these different experiences, being able to pursue some of the things that they love. That's really exciting. Okay, so did anybody come with something on their heart that they really want to share to get things started this morning? And remember, if we have a pause and there's some silence, that is never, ever a problem. We've got to have some time to think about what we're thinking about. Okay, so thanks, Madeline. So that is the Internet Archive link to the book if you want to write. And it's a book that Marlene wrote about yesterday. She put a post on it. I never could find that post, but Laura shared it with me, and I'm so glad that you did. Hang on, I'm trying to find it here. Marlene highly recommended this book as something for us to read, and she said some pretty strong things about it. So I wanted to just put that out there in case any of you wanted to read it. So hang on, and I'll share a little bit of what she said. She said, if you offer yourself the gift of time this holiday season and want to recharge yourself for the coming year, do yourself a favor and curl up with this book, If You Want to Read by Brenda Euland. It was originally published in 1938. So that's one of those old treasures. It's not just about writing. It's about everything I'm trying to teach you through a well-educated heart. It is the pattern for learning. It is about love and life and abundance. So at Internet Archive, you can access these books for free, so you don't have to purchase them. And then she continues, let me share the last couple of paragraphs. Why should we all use our creative power and write or paint or play music or whatever our creative power tells us to do? Because there is nothing that makes people so generous, joyful, lively, bold, and compassionate, so indifferent to fighting and the accumulation of objects and money. because the best way to know the truth or beauty is to try to express it. And what is the purpose of existence here or yonder but to discover truth and beauty and express it, share it with others? And so I really believe this book will hasten the millennium by 200 or 300 years. And if it has given you the impulse to write one small story, I am pleased. So that was enough for me to make me interested, curious. Laura and Madeline are going to start reading it. So if there's anybody else that is interested, go take a look at it, see if it's something that's interesting to you. And if you want to join, hey, Haley, if you want to join, then you can join us and we could have a Marco Polo discussion about that book that's in the chat. So I think when a book gets Marlene's seal of approval, that usually makes me curious anyway. And then I want to find out for myself. So I was able to get it on if you have Amazon Prime and you have the Amazon free Kindle reader, you can also get it for free that way too. So that is another thing. So I'm continuing on unless I see somebody looking like, yes, I'm ready. I have something to share. Anybody? I'm still, okay. Don't worry about it. Just think about it. Okay. I'm going to share 2 other books over here. We have a couple of very active, Marco Polo groups that are discussing books that we're reading. And it has been really powerful, really incredible. So I'm going to put the 2 books in here. So those 2, and then I'll go ahead and put the name again of this other one. And this is not to overwhelm anyone. This is just if you feel like, yep, that's for me. I'm supposed to do that. Or I need to explore that, then do it. And then come message me if you want to be included in any of the discussion groups. And if you feel in your heart, this is not for me, this is not the time or the season, then it's not. And there's no guilt attached. We need to do what we can do and what we're supposed to be doing and not worry about all the other stuff. I know that it's really hard to do that. I have lots of friends that I talk with, and that thing of making yourself feel guilty because you're not doing all this stuff, we just got to stop doing that. It's really easy to do it, but it just makes us feel I was looking for a quote. It just makes us feel overwhelmed, and it makes us feel like we're not enough. And that's wrong. That's not true. That's something that that Satan wants you to feel, right? And so he'll jump in on any of that discouragement. But I think it's really important to remember that there is a time and a season for things. And I was just as guilty of it. I thought I needed to do it all. And then I felt overwhelmed. And I was just telling my friend Melissa the other day that I always had a to-do list, and it was so long and overwhelming. And, I thought it was being ultra productive. I'd write all these things down and I'd think, okay, I'm going to get so many of these done today. And then anything I don't get done, I'll just roll over to tomorrow and that'll feel great. Well, it doesn't feel good because at the end of the day, you might have got a few things done on the list, but if your list was long like mine always was, I was just overwhelmed at the end of the day, and I felt discouraged and I felt less than. And then Satan just jumped right on that and, and fed all of that. And it just created this negative narration in my head and kind of spiraled. So I've learned a new trick. And so my new trick is this back-ended, I don't even know what to call it. You guys can think of a name as I describe it, but you might have a master list of a bunch of the stuff that you'd like to get around to, and you have a general idea of what you need to do every day. On your calendar, you can put the things that are have-tos, that you cannot miss. These things have to happen. You have to get your kids to the dentist or, whatever. But all the other things are just kind of on a master list. And then in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, you pray and you ask Heavenly Father, what is it that I really need to get done today? What do I need to focus on today? What's most important? And he'll tell you. And that's what you focus on for that day. And if you try very hard to walk that day with the Spirit, then you are going to be led and directed in the things that you do. Your day won't be perfect. There'll still be all kinds of stuff that comes up, but you'll feel better as you go through the day. And then at the end of the day, instead of looking at a to-do list that like didn't, like you just didn't get it done. You take your journal or wherever, something that you like to write in, or you do a meditation. And in that meditation, you go over these things, but you go over the things that you did that day, what you prayed about and followed, the direction you received from heaven, and then how you followed that up. And then any other thing that you did that day. I give myself credit for everything, like the big giant momentous thing of getting out of bed, remembering to pray, remembering to eat breakfast. That's huge for me. But drinking water. Whatever it is, spending 5 minutes with your child, one-on-one. 5 minutes is amazing. Your kids just absolutely get so excited if you can spend 5 minutes out of 24 hours, 5 minutes, and they are thrilled. And some of that time are some of their best memories. But anyway, any of those things, you reflect on those things, everything that you did that day, and you pat yourself on the back because nobody else is going to do it. We would, but we wouldn't be there, right? And so you do that. And then you can end that day feeling good about yourself and feeling hopeful about tomorrow. You can acknowledge the things that you forgot, the things you missed, or the things that oh shoot, I yelled at the kids and I didn't mean to do that. I was going to do better on that. Well, okay. That whole idea of forgiveness, forgive yourself, come back and begin again. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to do better. Tomorrow I'm going to try harder to remember about that, Anyway, that's a thing I learned that has made my life so much happier and more peaceful. So I wanted to share that with you. Melissa and I had a good conversation about that. Melissa, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that I have started doing the part where at the end of the day, I reflect on the things that I have been able to do, and it has made a wonderful difference. It has just made me feel so much better and just whole inside. And I'm also now optimistic looking into the next day. So it really does make a really big difference.
Yay. I'm so happy that you're doing that. That's awesome. And it does make a difference. I think that some of my conversations, my one-on-one conversations with Linnell, who is busily doing some project, some of my Oh, she's putting together an IKEA something. How fun is that? Some of my one-on-one conversations with Linnell helped me to be more positive in my speaking about myself. Linnell is a great example of, and I don't know if this was a conscious effort. Oh, Ida, you're going to make me hungry. If this was a conscious effort, no, go back. I want to see. I'm just kidding. A conscious effort on her part to be more positive in her speaking about herself, but she does that, and in the very beginning, it kind of is like right in your face because people don't do, either people do that in the social media a way of, look at me, look at everything that I'm doing and how wonderful my life is, on the best of best days. Or we're just tearing ourselves down, beating ourselves up, apologizing for ourselves, And so this very healthy way that Linnell has of talking about herself to others, I love. And so I haven't even told her that. So thank you for that, because I tried to practice that in my life now. And I don't apologize for my successes. If I'm doing something right, I need to get all the credit out of it that I can, because as women, we think so much more about the negatives. So I'm trying to really focus on those wins, those accomplishments. So anyway, that's something I wanted to share this morning. So if there's anybody that has any comments they want to make on that, that is great, and we can go there. And if you don't, that's fine too. Don't feel bad about that. If you don't, I won't have my feelings hurt, I promise. But I'm going to give you a minute. Oh, thank you, Seven. Thank you. You're really sweet. It's nice to have you here too. And don't be hesitant to share, because it's the wonderful thing about sharing is that we start feeling connected with one another. we start realizing, oh, that's my friend. I know her. I know something about her. So that's a good thing. Haley is my friend from the Grand Moi group. You know, we have that, the Mothers of Influence, and then there's the original like group. And Haley and I somehow got to be part of that group, and it's wonderful. But Haley just moved. So Christmas time move. So, you know, we can all feel for Haley, right? And give her all that compassion. And she's in a new area, but it's home. She's back home. She's back where, I mean, near where she and her husband grew up. And Haley, remind me where that is.
Over in Tremonton in Utah.
That's right. That's right. And so they're getting all used to their new place and trying to figure stuff out there. Haley, can you share just for a moment, just something about you? Just introduce yourself to the group, and don't worry about littles. I mean, if it gets too noisy, I'll mute you.
Okay. I am, I don't know, I'm a mother of 4, and I love Well Educated Heart. It's changed my life in a lot of ways. I feel like, you know, what you've been talking about, just like those simple things, like going to the end of your day and recognizing the good things that you've done. I feel like Well Educated Heart has helped me do that in just everything in my life, just recognizing the good and the small things that actually make a big difference. And so, and I know that's not about me, sorry, it's about Well Educated Heart, but I feel like my life is that right now. I don't know if you guys can relate to that. But yeah, I love reading. I love being a mom. I love learning about different things. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you.
No, it's wonderful. I was listening to a recording of Haley the other day on Marco Polo, and she was sharing, and that was a great introduction, by the way, sorry. She was sharing about how she has been on this, well, she's gone down a rabbit hole, what she said about George Washington. She's just been reading and listening and reading and loving what she learned. And she shared such a beautiful story that's a story from the life of George Washington. And if you have a moment, if there's, you know, time that's comfortable for you to share, then let me know, just raise your hand or, you know, or unmute or whatever, Haley, and we'll let you share that because I think it's such a beautiful story.
I can share it right now. My kids kind of went away.
Okay.
So in this story, it's actually one of the podcasts that Marlene did. And it's really beautiful. It starts out and it's just kind of talking about virtue. Marlene talks about virtue and what that actually means in the, or not what it actually means, but what it was, what it meant back in like 1828 or whatever, that dictionary that she loves. And then she goes on to tell a story about George Washington where the men in his army had gotten a letter from Congress, and I don't know what the matter was, but they had gotten this letter that was kind of saying that they were going against what they had said they were going to do, or maybe the problem that they had gone to them with wasn't going to be resolved the way they thought. And the army was really angry about it. And they kind of started like talking about an uprising, and George Washington kind of got them under control and said like, hey, let's find a time that we can do a meeting, and you know, let's set a time to really think about this, you know, let's not act too quickly. And so they come up, you know, with a day and a time that they're going to meet, and so he actually, they set the time and he wasn't going to be at the meeting. And the day before, he actually had a terrible time sleeping, and he was just really worried about it, and he didn't know what to do. And he decided that he was going to go to the meeting and he was going to try to talk to them and tell him his worries. So he wakes up, goes to the meeting, tells them he's really sorry that he wasn't planning on going, but he knew that it was the right thing to do. And he starts to talk about things, and they're just like, some of them are responding, but he can tell that there's still a lot of hardness in their hearts. And so he thinks of this letter that he knew that he had from one of the men in Congress who had said, like, I don't think this is right. You know, I'll stand up for you. I'll fight for you, and I'll try to get this made right. And so he pulls out the letter and he kind of stumbles and fumbles with it. And then he tries to read it and he can't. He needs his glasses. And it says that only his closest aides had actually seen him wear his glasses. And so he pulls out his glasses, kind of stumbles a little bit with them, and then he puts them on. And as he does this, he says, you know, pardon me, men, you know, in your service, I have grown gray and I find myself also going blind. And he says that, and as he says that, the room just changed. You know, it changes the feel, you know, because here's this strong man. And I think before this army was like, oh, he's trying to change our mind. He's trying, you know, he thinks he's better than us, you know, whatever. But then in that moment, they recognized that he was weak, that he had weakness like all of us. And there was just this softening of hearts, and all the men at the end of the meeting voted to postpone it and to trust that the Congress, that these men that had acted in goodness and good works, that they were going to trust that they would figure it out. And anyway, it was just really heartwarming to me to read that. So
Thank you, Haley, for doing that. I appreciate it. I loved that enthusiasm that I felt from Haley when she shared the story. And I knew that it would come again and that you would feel that from her. Isn't that wonderful to see what comes into our hearts, not our kids? We're not talking right now about our children or about homeschooling or anything. We're talking about us as moms and the ways that we need to have our heart, the importance of having our hearts softened and warmed and being able to feel and being able to have these experiences where we learn things, and the things that we learn affect our lives, and we take them and we apply that to our lives. Okay, I want to see Melissa. Melissa knows so much. Melissa says, Haley, have you read The Real George Washington? My grandfather helped author the real set. Oh, that, Melissa, you've never shared that with us. That's super cool. And my husband and I are reading it right now, and we've really enjoyed it. It has like 100 pages of references, which I love, but maybe others don't care about that. Yeah, Melissa is definitely, man, Melissa, you're a treasure. There's so many things that you are able to share with us. That's wonderful. Thanks. Lindsay Watkins, you guys come on and share. Come on and share, because we haven't heard from you for a long time. Lindsay, can you read what you shared?
No.
Since you're on camera, I'm not sure where Melissa is, so I didn't want to ask Melissa too.
Fine. I was, after reading that, and you know how she just, that enthusiasm, I felt that too, and it's fun because you go through that, but it's ebb and flow. You know, it's a continual. If you're not doing it, you just get back into the rut of just being busy and doing all the other things, and then you can just feel that just difference in your heart. I mean, I can, but
yeah.
So just taking that time to stop, and that's actually been on my mind a lot this month. We traveled for Thanksgiving and we came back and it was already December. And so it felt like this last week, I'm like, I've just been rushing, trying to catch up with decorating for Christmas and getting it all done, where I sat down today and I was like, I hope there's a call today, because I need to stop and just fill my heart, because it's just hard. It is hard when you're in, you know, the pits right now, and just that enthusiasm. I appreciated Haley's comments and how, like I said, it just bubbled out of her and you could tell. And I love that feeling. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, me too. I loved it. I loved it. And Lindsay, thank you for reminding us that it is a continual process. Marlene says, spend some time every day. Spend some time every day. And I know that that makes the difference. And you do feel the absence of it. It's just like if you miss some days, either saying your prayers, you know, praying or studying your scriptures, or if you're a journal writer, writing in your journal, or, you know, exercise, whatever your things are that you do, and then you miss that for a couple of days, you really do feel it. And same thing with warming your heart stuff. We miss those things too. It's important to make sure that we make ourselves and that time a priority because it blesses everybody around us. That enthusiasm that Haley had from that you just experienced, you know her family felt that. You know that the people in around her in her household would feel that, you know, the excitement and all of that positiveness. Anyway, okay, more sharing. Good stuff, negative stuff. Ida.
I have something I've been thinking about. The sun's like right in my face, so sorry, I'm shining. Um, so I've been thinking a lot about the love of God. Hopefully that's not too much for anybody. Anyways, um, and there was a talk that I listened to that talked about how the love of God changes everything for a person, right? When you feel and know that God loves you, that changes everything. And so I've thought a lot about that the last few months, and I've been like pondering that because I thought, well, I want my kids to know that God loves them. And then I thought, like, well, do I know that God loves me? Like, how do I know? Like, how do I know? Because I want to know how I know so I can share that with them so they can like figure out how to figure it out for themselves, you know? When, like, when do I feel it? How do I feel it? And so I've been pondering on that a lot. And it's kind of funny, like Linnell was sharing something with me the other day, maybe, or maybe it was you, Lori. No, I think it was Laura. I'm all confused. Anyways, about like pondering, she had been pondering something, and then it was like she'd heard something and then something else, and it kind of was all kind of coming together, but slowly, like to giving her more understanding. And I was thinking about that, and I think like it's, as you were talking, it's kind of like when we soften our hearts, right? When we're softening our hearts, we're able to feel the love of God more in our lives. We're able to understand how he feels about us and see the beauty in the world around us. And that helps us to know he loves us, right? And then I was thinking too about, I'm a really verbal processor. And I will think and think about things, and it's like it's just spinning in my head and I can't figure it out. I have to like talk to somebody about it to like figure it out. And like I've missed being able to visit and chat with you ladies and like our meetings, because I was like, man, I just need to hear somebody else's thoughts for a little while so I can like get out of my head. And like then it like, oh, that's like it's like little light bulbs sometimes. Oh, that makes sense. And so like even when Haley was sharing her thing about just George Washington, like I love how like in that moment where he was human, like he took out his glasses. I'm just human too. Like it helps us to see the humanity in other people, right? When we're like, they struggle, they have challenges, they are sacrificing. And like that's such a powerful way, I think. I don't know, like it made me think like just love that he had for them, and it softened their hearts. And like as we do, like we don't have to be perfect moms, but if we're trying, you know, and like sometimes our kids, when they see our humanity too, it helps them to feel greater love for us and also feel that love that Heavenly Father has for them too, or that God has for them. Anyway, so that was kind of, I'm still processing, so maybe that's not making a lot of sense, but like I feel like just hearing other people's thoughts, it helps me to like understand that better as I've been like pondering on all of that. And like, anyways,
I
I'm done
love
now.
that. I loved that. And I think probably we'll have some follow-up comments on that. But I love that idea of, do I know that God loves me? You know, when do I feel it? How do I feel it? I think that's a really good self-reflection question, you know, questions. Any comments, follow-up ones on that, what Ida shared? I just love that. And I love the idea of that you want to share that with your children. You want to make sure that they know how to access that too. And like with everything from Well-Educated Heart, when we are just doing it, experiencing it, our children or those around us can feel it. They feel and learn from our doing and our experiencing. Hey, Sarah. Yeah, go ahead. Welcome, new mama.
So I just had a thought about my mission president. When I was probably like,
Was that James Slaughter?
yeah, so James Slaughter was my first mission president. And this is actually a story about my second mission president. When I was about halfway or 3/4 of the way through my mission, we had a switch in mission presidents. And so we had a big like devotional to like be introduced to the new mission president. And he said that he had made love a theme in his studies, and that he really wanted to bring love to the mission. And we could tell because he made every effort to connect with us and make eye contact and show us that he loved us. And like you could just tell, like this, his name was President Polly. President Polly loved us a lot. And that just kind of bled in to everything. Like we kept, like I found myself keeping mission rules, not because of expectations. Like President Slaughter, we very much wanted to keep mission rules because he had high expectations for us, and he knew that we could do it, and we could just pursue excellence that way. And so we were keeping the mission rules and standards and everything in both cases, but with the one, like on the one side, it was because it was expected of us and we wanted to pursue excellence. And the other side, it was because we knew that President Polly loved us a lot. And I'm not really sure actually how that, like logically, love wouldn't really be a motivator to keep rules. Like that just doesn't make sense now that I think about it, but it really did. Like we wanted to do everything for him. And then once like that had settled into our hearts, that's when I think I learned more about the love of God, because I had that pattern of feeling that from a physical person. And then I just kind of understood it better as a principle that like that also applied to God's relationship with me. And I could look for those same feelings and build that similar relationship with my Heavenly Father. And so I think in the thought or in the thread of teaching our kids God's love for them, I think a major thing that we can do is just love them ourselves and love them deeply and show them that we love them and do everything that we can so that they understand the principle of love and can look for it in their relationship with God.
That is beautiful, Sarah. Thank you for sharing that. Ida has some good comments about that too. I see you have a headset. I know you have a microphone.
I was trying to type it and I pressed enter too soon. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, we're giving you a chance to fix that.
Okay, Sarah. So I just love that, like being able to feel of your mission president's love, that helps you to feel God's love more. Like that becomes real to you. Like I know that this person cares about me so much, like then it's possible that God could love me too, and he knows me. And I love the thing that you said about eye contact, because I don't know about the rest of you all, but when I'm mad at somebody, I don't want to look at them. Like I'll be in the same room, but I'm not looking, making eye contact. But like also at the same time, you can say so much with your eyes and really express your love with your eyes, So that was a good thing too. Needed to hear that.
That was really good. And I love Lindsay's comment. That is something that I haven't thought about. I haven't had the experience of having someone that close to me pass away yet. And so what she said is really tender. I felt that after, and don't go off camera, Lindsay, just so I don't call on you to talk. But I will read this one for you because it's very tender. I felt that after my dad passed away, it gave me a tangible father in heaven, and my whole relationship with the Lord changed. And that's really, really a sweet thought. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Lindsay. If you're not feeling that kind of love, if you're not feeling that connection currently, what can you do? What do we do to bring that back? What do you do in your life when you feel a distance, a separation from God? What do you do to bring that back? Anybody want to comment on that? Yeah, Abby.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, not necessarily an answer to the question, but
No, that's fine. That's fine.
reading about our ancestors and what they've gone through. I feel like our generation, we don't write down a lot of stuff. Maybe we do like on the internet, which is great, but sometimes it'd be nice to have like a hard copy of what your ancestors have said, And I actually have 2 books that I've been reading and sharing some stories, with my kids about my ancestors. And it's made me realize like how much the Lord is really in the details and in your life.
No, I think family history is such, and don't worry, Abby, there's just being little kiddos. Okay, I love the paper chain. I know that was an accidental, but how cute is that? I miss all those things. But it really is such an important thing to do. That family history connection is huge. Being able to read about what people went through, the kinds of trials that they had, helps us. I think it helps a lot with gratitude. It helps us see as we see the Lord's hand in their lives and the things that they went through. It's the same thing that we get as we are reading these older history stories that Marlene provides in Well Educated Heart. We read about other people's lives and we are fed and we learn and we gain tools. And I love that. I love how much we can learn from reading about other people. That's so funny. You're funny, Ida. Oh yeah, go Haley.
Okay, sorry, I don't know how to be like,
No. You guys can just interrupt, and then sometimes people do the little raise hand or something like that, just if I'm not paying attention. So
Okay, so I was just thinking about your question about like how can we, like when we feel like there's a disconnect, how can we get connected again? And I feel like I go through this cycle, like it's like a roller coaster, up and down and up and down. And I always like, if I'm out of tune with myself, I don't like recognize it as quickly and it kind of spirals. But one of the things that I love to do when I'm feeling disconnected is I go and I call my best friend. And when I talk to her, it's funny because I feel like we're on this weird thing where we have very similar things happen in our lives at the same time. And so a lot of the time, if I'm feeling discouraged, she's feeling discouraged, and I can go and talk to her. And by like kind of being able to commiserate a little bit with one another and understand, just be understanding, no judgment or whatever, that automatically it's like when I get off the phone with her, I feel so much better. And I feel like sometimes when we're feeling disconnected from God, we're kind of also disconnected from other people.
that's a really good observation. I think that's probably true in a lot of cases, Haley. That's really good. And having someone that you can talk to is huge. Melissa and I were talking about that the other day. Just the absence of having a person to just talk with when you're in some of those harder moments, it can make things really tough. Anybody else
I have
thoughts about that? Yeah, go.
Again, sorry.
Oh.
Haley, I love that. That was so cool. Also, there's a lot of new people since the last time I was here, and it's so fun to see all of you. My son, Porter, was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes like last May, I think it was. And when my husband has juvenile diabetes as well. And when my son was like laying on the couch and acting kind of weird. And I was like, what's going on, Porter? What's happening? And he said, I don't know, I'm just tired. And I'm like, you're tired? Well, what's going on? And then he said to me that he's really thirsty. And I was like, I know like different signs for that kind of, if you have juvenile diabetes, like you're thirsty, you have to go to the bathroom a lot, and you still are thirsty even after you're drinking, and you're really tired. Anyways, so I was like, oh, I think we should test your blood sugar. And so then I was like trying to figure out what to do and find a tester kit, because my husband has a line around the house, but he was out at work. And I tested his blood sugar, and it was like 300 and some, which is really high. It's not, it's just high. Okay, so it's normally supposed to be under 100 or around 150 at the highest, really. Anyways, and then I go through this kind of, it was really kind of a sacred experience, actually, because I felt like Heavenly Father was telling me what to do, like in the moment. Like I said, oh my gosh, I need to get him to the doctor. This is not good. And then I was like rushing around, kind of like, what do I do, you know? And sort of a little bit in my head hysterical, but I was really calm, like on my face. and then I was like, you need to take a shower right now because it's going to be a while. And I was like, okay. And then actually, before I even tested him, I felt like I needed to take a shower, because I was like, I need to take a shower because I'm going to have to take him to the doctor, and I need to be clean because I'm going to be there for a while. And I hadn't even tested him. So then after I got out of the shower, I was trying to get hold of my husband. He told me where the testing kit was, and I was able to go and get an actual test of his blood. And then I got the reading, and I was like, okay, yes, this is not good. And then I got out of the shower, and I was like, I need to call somebody. Like, who do I call? I need help. I'm like trying to figure things out. And I kept calling people. I called my sister, who is a midwife, my brother, who's a doctor, and my husband. Nobody was answering the phone. And I was like, I had the phone in my hand. I was like, seriously, Heavenly Father, I need to call somebody. He's like, call me. And like, it was like just this powerful, like, you need to talk to me. And so then I like said a prayer. And I was like, it was a simple prayer, but I was just like, Heavenly Father, help me and help this to be okay. Like, it was just a really sweet experience. But I remember that, like, I am a person that loves to talk to people, and I love to like, I'm like the dial your friend person, you know, like if I have a question, I call my friends to like, we need to talk this through. I need to figure this out. And it was a reminder for me in that moment, but also since then, like, the person I need to call and talk to is Heavenly Father, and he will help me. And so that your comment made me think about that experience and like calling a friend, and I should be able to, and sometimes it's hard, right? Like, I don't feel like we shouldn't call our friend too. Like, sometimes we just need to be like, yeah, okay, I need to get myself back in focus, right? Anyways, so he's okay and everything's okay, and it all worked out, and it was totally like, we were totally blessed through that experience. But I just thought I'd share that.
I love that too. And I'm that way too. I'm kind of more of a in person. Let me find somebody that is live right here. And which is great. And that's good. I mean, and I know Ida's saying both are good, but remember, remember, call me. I love that. Because he is always there and he always cares. You know, if we would always remember to look at our situation as a parent and how much we want our children to reach out to us when they're hurting, then we would remember that we need to do the same. We need to reach out to him, right? It's just hard because you want to, I can handle it. I can do it, So I really can't, but so it's such a good reminder to go to him. I love it. Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts, things that are on your heart that you want to share? Experiences that you had this week, things you learned, something you think, I just have to share this, or a tiny little thought you have that just won't go away in your head. And you think, oh, that's too little. That's not really significant. I'm not going to share that here. It may be exactly what somebody here needs. Hey, Melanie.
Hi, I'll share something.
Okay.
So I don't remember if this was recommended from this group or what, but I got this book, The Little Things. It's by, I just saw the name, Merla Greenwood Thane. And I thought it was going to be a book about like how to appreciate the little things, which it kind of is, but I'm gathering that it's like her poems and kind of her explanations behind the thought behind the poems, something like that. I started it, I don't know, a couple weeks ago and got a little bit in, and then I didn't put a bookmark in, so I forgot where I was and tried to figure it out. But it's been funny because I've ended up rereading a lot and like, oh, I have marks on that page already, but I'll reread it anyways. Oh, I have marks on the other page, I'll reread it, and I already forgot. And one thing that's been funny to me is that there was like a whole paragraph that I marked almost the entire paragraph, but when I reread it the second time, the only parts that really stood out to me were the parts that I didn't underline the first time around. And it really struck me. But there's a different part that I thought I'd share. It's based on I guess the poem's called Little Gray House. And she talks about how, you know, she was kind of poor. She had been, I think, in a nicer house and then was in a not so nice house for a while. And at the end of the poem, she says, "Oh, someday I hope for a cottage that's neat, with tile sinks and cupboards galore, with carpets that make downy warmth for small feet and windows draped clear to the floor. But while in this little gray house I pursue the time-honored calling of mother, let me see with clear vision the joys that are mine, nor envy the role of another." And I think, I mean, my husband and I have moved a lot in our married lives, and going from job to job, trying to like work his way up to higher positions and stuff. And sometimes I wonder, you know, we feel like, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. What are we going to look forward to the next time we move? Things are going to be better, and this part of our situation is going to be better next time. And I feel like we're always looking that way, you know, and especially, you know, living for 5 years with my in-laws, or with my parents previously before we just moved, you know, we knew we were going to move, and obviously there are things that are nicer when you're on your own. We did have a lot of wonderful blessings there, and just in general, it just struck me, that last line, that let me see with clear vision the joys that are mine, nor envy the role of another. I'm so busy thinking about, you know, what I should be doing, what I should be accomplishing, what I haven't done. Like you guys were talking about the lists of what I want to accomplish today that I haven't accomplished, and instead of focusing on what I have done, and instead of like always looking to what I don't have or what I haven't accomplished, all of that looking to other people and what I should be accomplishing at this phase of my life, I'm missing what's right in front of me, the joys that I do have, the children that are in front of me that I can love and enjoy and just soak up their current stage of life, instead of being always looking to what I should be doing, but just taking that time to be present more and see with clear eyes.
I love that, Melanie, and I thought that was really tender as you were reading that poem, knowing your moves and different living situations and stuff. I thought, oh, that makes sense, that poem really speaks to your heart. I love that. But that last line is beautiful. I wrote it down. Let me see with clear vision the joys that are mine. And I think, because I wrote on the paper today that the thing I wanted to get from this meeting was, what is my Christmas wish? I am just enjoying this Christmas holiday season so much, and I was so worried about it because 3 of my kids are gone. There's just one at home, and it's very different, and my missionary's gone, and I had confessed that every time I hear the Christmas songs that he plays on the piano all the time, when I hear them on the radio, I always tear, or on the speaker, I always tear up. But I'm having such a beautiful, wonderful time, but I'm trying really hard to. I'm trying to be very present. But as I thought about this, you know, I was just sitting in here waiting for you, and I wrote, what is your Christmas wish? You know, and then I never addressed it. I didn't even think about it until just now, Melanie, when I reread that line. Let me see with clear vision the joys that are mine. That is my Christmas wish. That is my all-time wish. Let me see with clear vision the joys that are mine. When we do that, that gratitude for the things that we do have really outweighs all the other things. It really truly does. And it's such a blessing to be able to have those eyes that obviously can see everything else, all the trials, the problems, the difficulties, all the stuff, but can see the blessings and the joys through everything else. Anyway, so thank you for sharing that, Melanie. That was beautiful. I mean, in combination with everything else that we've been discussing, it's just so good to be with you. I shared a quote on Well Educated Heart today that I just loved, and it said, it's from Marjorie Pay Hinckley, and I just love her. We are all in this together. We need each other. Oh, how we need each other. Those of us who are old, would be me in case you didn't notice, need you who are young, and hopefully you who are young need some of us who are old. We need deep and satisfying and loyal friendships with each other. I can't read now. These friendships are a necessary source of sustenance. That's interesting. That's pretty powerful if you think about that. These friendships are a necessary, so they're necessary, and they are a source of sustenance. They feed us. We need to renew our faith every day. We need to lock arms. I didn't add the rest of this because it was on the regular Well Educated Heart page, but it says we need to lock arms and help build the kingdom so that it will roll forth and fill the whole earth. We do that by having these friendships. That's a pretty beautiful thought too. I just love that. Anyway, I wanted to share that. Anybody else have something on your heart that you want to share? See, Melanie had that, but she was maybe unsure about whether that was something you wanted to share or not. You know, we hesitate sometimes because we don't know if it's going to fit in. We don't know if it's whatever, but if it's on your heart, share it because we need it. Haley?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm talking so much.
Oh, it's good.
Okay, so I've been reading in the Mothers of Influence book. I know it's like a month one thing, but my friend keeps talking to me about it, and it's so good that I keep going back to it. But I read this page the other day, and I have been thinking about it ever since. And I feel like it ties into what we're talking about. I'm not quite sure how, but maybe you guys can help me, and you'll have to stick with me because it's kind of long, but so worth it. So it says every growth. Sorry, hold on just a sec.
It's
My baby
okay.
needs her blanket.
I needed my blanket too, so we're all good.
Okay. Okay, so it says every growth in nature is nurtured and sustained through its early existence by a pre-existing guardian. The germ of the oak is nourished and protected by the substance of the acorn until it is strong enough to draw its food directly from the earth and to withstand the tempest and scorching sun. So it must be with the germ of that oak, which is to wave in the forest of human society. And if we wish to become a grand and noble oak and not a hollow-hearted deformity, we should look well to the protection and nourishment of its early years. We should see that there's the proper spiritual soil from which the little human germ may gather wholesome and strengthening food when it puts forth its tender rootlets into the great world without. The relation which the acorn sustains to the germ is precisely that which the home sustains to the child. If we were to suppose that the germ endowed with intelligence, we should still suppose it ignorant of everything but the environments of the acorn. It would, of course, be all unconscious that there is a world without, full not only of germs like itself, but of giant oaks. So the child is ignorant of the great outward world. The home is its little world, and it knows no other. Precious thought that it never quite outgrows the blissful ignorance. We take on higher and broader views of life, but we are compelled by a law of our being to look forever upon our home as in some way the grand center from which radiate all other interests. When the mother shades the windows of the nursery, she but unconsciously imitates the creator of her child. who through the institution of home has shut from his feeble and nascent mind the flashing colors of the too brilliant world. But not alone for childhood is the sacred ministry of home. It is the guardian of youth, a consolation amid the weary toils of manhood, and a resting place for old age, where he who is soon to lay off the armor may find loving hearts and tender hands to guide his tottering steps to the water's edge. Again, the mature mind is only that of a developed infant. It is still infantile with reference to the universe in its entirety, nor can it ever fully comprehend the significance of life in the aggregate. Were we to attempt to dwell in the great temple of the world, we should become lost in its vast hills and mighty labyrinths. Hence, it becomes necessary to reduce the scale of the world, to isolate the human mind, as it were, from the vastness of aggregate life, and this God has done in the institution of home. I love that. Okay, this is why it ties in. I love that because we're all just, we see everything, we see all the things there are to do, and oh, I'm not doing this, and this is, oh, why, I better be doing all these things. But the thing is that part of that book just like told me that it isn't our job to do everything. It isn't our job to do everything. It is our job to do less, to find the most significant things. And that could be different for all of us, that we are pulled to certain things for a reason. And it is to minimize the world, to bring the greatest things into our hearts. So
I love that. That's beautiful. I love that you shared that, Haley. And that has so many applications. I mean, as I'm just thinking of a few of them, but I love it. I love it. And doing less, the importance of doing less. Like when you said that, I thought the importance of doing less so that we're more available to our families, to our husbands and our children and to people around us. Melissa. Hey.
Hey, sorry, this is going back a little bit, but I've been looking for this story while we've been talking. There's a story in the first couple pages of The Real George Washington that just this conversation has kind of reminded me of. And today we, I don't know if I can put my camera in here. We got lots of snow last night. And so my kids have been playing outside. And
Oh, wow.
it's our first real snow day. So there's been snowballs and crying and lots of stuff all over my house. But can I flip my camera on here? I'm not sure. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
flip my camera. I'm not sure you guys can actually see this. It doesn't look like you can on mine, but on page 4, it says, one wintry day, Colonel John Glover raced up to the general's headquarters and reported breathlessly that fighting had erupted between his Massachusetts regiment and Daniel Morgan's crack Virginia riflemen. The incident had begun with some hard words and an angry exchange of snowballs. Within minutes, more than 1,000 men were slugging it out in the open, snow-covered field. The camp officers desperately tried to restore order, but the brawl ignited pent-up passions that had been smoldering for months. Soon the rioting was completely out of control. Just a minute, buddy. Without waiting to hear the whole story, Washington leapt onto his saddled horse outside the door and started off at full gallop toward Glover's camp. His stallion flew over the pasture bars into the midst of the rioting troops. In an instant, the 6-foot, 3.5-inch general was on the ground, rushing into the fray. He seized 2 tall, brawny riflemen by the throat, keeping them at arm's length, and shook them in his powerful grip while thundering commands at their fellow soldiers. Immediately, the tumult ceased. From the moment I saw Washington leap the bars at Cambridge, reflected the prominent colonel leader who witnessed the incident, and realized his personal ascendancy over the turbulent tempers of his men in the moments of wildest excitement, I never faltered in the faith that we had the right man to lead the cause of American liberty.
That's so good. I love that man.
This story, George Washington advocated so much for his men. He advocated for food, for money, for payment, for clothes, just constantly. And as a parent, I feel like we advocate for our children constantly to the Lord and in different ways. And despite his love for his men and his care for his, responsibility over them, they still got fights. Like my kids do. They still just have disputes. And And the way he handled it probably isn't the most gentle or docile way, but it worked.
Yeah.
Instead of having lots of injured soldiers from 1,000 men fighting,
Right. He stopped
spared
it.
2 of them and then stopped it all.
Right.
And he was the right man for the job. He was inspired for this job, and despite that, his soldiers weren't perfect. They weren't the most well-behaved people. And that story just kind of spoke to me as a mom with my kids. Like, oh my gosh, you guys, can't you just do it? Like,
I know.
why are you doing this again?
Right. No, I
but-
love it, and I love the personal connection for you with those stories, with that collection of the real, the real George Washington, the real, I love those. That's very cool.
Yeah, I never realized my grandfather had authored anything until I was in college, and I accidentally found out, and I was like, how come I don't know this?
Right. That's super cool. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Melissa.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, I think we're going to go to Linnell. I know, especially since she's busy doing a project, we need to let her get back to that. But I love that we can go to Linnell for these wrap-ups, these summaries. It is always such a good experience for all of us to be able to listen to her words and be able to just think about the things that we learned today and the things that touched our hearts. So thank you all for being here, because even if you didn't say anything, your presence here was part of what we felt. And these friendships are still amazing to me. I still am so surprised that virtual friendships are so incredibly meaningful, that we are making real connections that matter, very deep and sincere connections. So I thank you all for that. We will meet next Friday. The next one, obviously, it was just too close to Christmas for me. So we won't meet that Friday right before Christmas, but we will meet next Friday for anybody who's available. So Linnell, we'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Lori. I'm happy to be here today. I was in Boston the past few days. I live in Minnesota, and on Wednesday, I went to Boston, and I got home about 20 minutes before our meeting today. But it was important enough for me to be here with you ladies and to hear from you and to participate. So I appreciate my Fridays at noon, which is where I'm at, where I can hang out with my friends and be uplifted and edified and inspired. I am in my son's room, and behind me on the wall, I'm going to show you. This says, "I love you, Benji," from Padre, which is dad in Spanish. And here is another one that says, "I love you, Benji and Papa." And that's from Benji's little brother, Sammy. And these are really sweet to me, these demonstrations of love, these sweet, tender expressions of love. And that's one of the messages that I got out of today. Love of God and love of a mother. And I think the love of a mother is the closest love that we can feel to the love of our Father in heaven. And I have an experience, it might be difficult for me to share this. My heart is pounding. I feel nervous, and I don't usually feel nervous. I don't usually, it's not usually a struggle to share this, but today, I don't know, for some reason, maybe just life experiences in the past few days, but I want to share experience about my son, Nady. We were outside walking, going on a family walk around the neighborhood. And I have 3 boys and a girl, and oftentimes my 3 boys like to run ahead and then they'll come back and they run ahead. And so sometimes they get 5 or 6 houses down the road from us, and then they'll come back to us. And so my 3rd son is 3 years old, and he follows his older brother who's 5 and 6, and they run ahead and come back. So there was a time where a car was approaching from in front of us. So there was an oncoming car heading our way, and my boys were running, and they were far away from us, about 5 or 6 houses down. And so my older two boys turned around and started running back to us, as they normally do, just go and come back. But my third son, Nady, who's 3 years old, was kind of left behind. And he turned around and started running to us, as following his brothers, as he normally does. And my husband noticed that Nady was running really fast, like super fast, faster than he's ever ran. And he even commented to me, "Whoa, he is running so fast. Look at him go." And sorry, I had an incoming call. I'm still here. So it was obvious to us that Nady was running really fast. One sec. Okay. And I noticed that he had a look of terror on his face. Like he was afraid. And I noticed that he wasn't sprinting because he was trying to get to us, but he was scared. And as he was running to us, he kind of collided with my daughter who was near us, and he swerved all the way around to come to us. And so you can imagine he's running toward us and my daughter's here. And so he comes and he just makes this big swerve and he slams into me and he just hugs my legs and he starts bawling. And so this is, it's kind of weird and concerning. And then the car passes us. And so we realized that he was so afraid of that oncoming car and he didn't know what to do. And all he knew was, I'm heading straight for mom and dad. And he had his eyes focused on us. He was running to us, but he swerved and he almost got hit by the car because he swerved around my daughter, went closer to the car at the same time the car was passing. And so it was kind of nerve-wracking for us that he was so close to this danger. And my husband he asked me, why did he cry? And I was like, I don't know. I think he was just so scared and he felt so relieved to be near us and safe with us. And so that experience happened. We didn't think much of it. And now fast forward a few weeks, I was at the temple and I was about to enter the celestial room. And I had a really significant experience just before entering the celestial room. And it was so hard to describe. Usually if I go to the temple, I feel peace, I feel love, I feel warmth. But this time I had no idea what I felt. It was strange, but I started crying and I couldn't contain my tears. I felt something and I didn't know what it was. And it kind of, it didn't concern me, but it left me puzzled. I was wondering, what was that feeling? It wasn't love, it wasn't joy, it wasn't sadness. What did I feel? And a few days later, I realized I made this connection. That feeling that my son felt when he came to us and hugged us was a sense of relief. And I realized that that was the same feeling that I felt in the temple. I felt relief to be in God's presence. I felt warmth and I felt love and I felt safety. And it's an experience that I never felt anywhere else. But I knew I was home, but it was it wasn't love, it wasn't happiness, it wasn't joy, it was just relief to be enveloped in God's love. And I think that's what I'm striving for, to become and to share with others. I want to be a person that offers relief. I want to be a person who is safe and kind and warm and loving, so that when people are near me or when people are in my presence, that they can feel that same warmth that my son felt when he came to hug us, when he felt that imminent danger, and when I was in the temple. After that experience, my husband and I realized, okay, we need to teach our son what to do. And when he hears a car coming from behind, he doesn't need to swerve into the road. He need to run to us. He can just step to the grass. And every time after that, can you get my cleats, please, Summer? Thank you. Every time after that, he would run to the grass and stand firmly and proudly and say, look, I'm on the grass. the car passed, he would run over, look, I'm on the grass, and he knew what to do. And I think that's the beauty of our opportunity as mothers, that we can feel God's love for us. And then we can share that love with others, with our children, with our friends, with our spouses, with everyone around us. We can show them God's love because of the love we give them. We can teach them what to do in times of danger, and we can always welcome them home with open arms. And so that is always thank you, Sammy, my focus and my intent. That's what I'm striving to become. And I know just by spending time with you ladies that that's your focus as well, that you want to be loving mothers who help your children come to know God's love through the love that you can offer them. You're muted, Lori.
Thank you. Sorry. Thanks so much, Linnell. That was beautiful. Beautiful ending to a beautiful conversation. I hope you all can carry those thoughts with you into this weekend and the next week, and keep it together and stay peaceful and find your happy place amidst the kind of crazy that can be. But make that time, make time to spend with God, make time to spend with things that warm your heart so that you can feel this way. And remember that you have all these friends that care about you and that are thinking about you and hoping for your successful day. And anyway, I love you all so very much. I'm so grateful to have you all in my life. It was nice being here with you. Bye.